What was it about, I guess, this original book or film that you thought there's something in this I want to bring to a contemporary audience and update it and twist it around and just have fun with it?
I mean, so many things. I think, I mean, it was always that central relationship. When I saw because I hadn't seen the Cronenberg before, and it was Rachel's idea, and so I sat down and I watched it, and then immediately watched it again. It's so, I mean, mind blown, and I felt really scared, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
But it was just, it was this incredible relationship at the middle of it that it was so intense, and there was so much love there, but there was so much harm as well. And it sort of felt like, okay, well, no, you can definitely get 6 hours of story. That's that.
And having that episodic opportunity, the luxury of just expanding, exploring, and kind of going places with it. Was that easy to kind of to navigate, or?
No, really. I mean, it's definitely it's the most challenging thing I've ever worked on, as well as being the most rewarding and the most joyful.
Rachel, why? What was it about this that the idea was yours, that you wanted to do this? Where and why?
It just started. Well, first of all, I'd seen the film, and it's a iconic, brilliant film which I'd never forgotten. I was just a big fan of it, and I guess I'm a bit of a sucker for a sort of psychosexual thriller, I suppose. And it just began as a daydream of like, what if? Oh, that was such an incredible film, and what if they were women? So it just started as a teeny tiny idea, which I spoke to Alice about, and then Alice had a think, and she was like, oh, that sounds interesting. It started very small with lots of conversations over a long time, and then Alice started to write. So it was a journey.
I mean, in terms of your performances, they are quite phenomenal and terrifying and brilliant. There are so many things. I mean, how? First of all, I came away second time I've watched it. And just kind of it's lovely as well, because you
watched it just now.
Yeah, I watched it again just now. It was lovely to watch it with an audience as well. It was so audible. You were all really reacting to it, which is wonderful. But how did you do it, first of all? How did you achieve that? Because there's moments where you're breathing the same breath and you're there. Those two characters are there. How did you do it?
It was really from the writing that I had the two characters. They were on the page completely different people with different psychology, different appetites, different relationships to pleasure, different centers, everything. They were just like radically different people on the page, and I had the gift of Alice's words that just, they were there. So thanks, Alice.
But the practicalities of filming that, was that a challenge for you?
Yes. Yes, it was a huge challenge, and it was really for the whole crew, the whole whole film unit, and for the actors, because you were in a scene with two of us. So it was a kind of a learning curve, I think, for all of us at the beginning, that weed off. Do you want to know how we did it?
Do we? I do, but I also kind of don't want to ruin. Do you know? I don't want to. I want there to be sort of mysticism around it in a weird way as well. But
we got better and better. we generally started with Elliot, because she's sort of, sets the pace a bit. She was also the older sister. She was born first, so she gets to go first. And then we'd shoot the scene, and then I'd go and change into Beverly. And whilst I did that, the whole crew would ready themselves. So it wasn't just me, it was camera, lighting, VFX, motion control, set dressing, props, and then you would be waiting for the other character. So it was
making sure to keep it straight in my head.
Yeah.
It was,
And the eye lines, there were technical things. And I think we all got better and better as a group. And by the end, we were just like 15 minutes down.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, Genevieve's a really important character and kind of thing almost that where she's placed really in the story and with these characters. What was the kind of thing for you that made you want to kind of jump into this, and what was the appeal for you as an opportunity?
I mean, am I right? So everything. When I got the project breakdown in my email from my incredible team, and I saw Alice Birch, Rachel Weisz, Dead Ringers, and I was given, I think, the first 2 scripts to read, the first 2 episodes that you just saw. I fell in love with the whole thing, and I was like, well, I mean, I need to go in for it, regardless of whether or not anything comes of it. It would be a dream, and here we are.
I feel like I've never seen anything like it on TV, to be honest. It feels so, it opens up conversations, and it goes places I feel that things have never gone before. I've had the balls to go, but before it it feels like a much needed conversation about so many things. When you were sitting down to write it, did you have an intention of kind of wanting to open doors, break down boundaries, break down barriers, kind of get rid of taboo, all that kind of stuff, because it just feels like it's all there for discussion within the show?
I mean, I don't know that it was that conscious. I think I think we were just sort of following what we were interested in. Like, it was always sort of as soon as we decided that, because in the Jeremy Irons, that they're just gynecologists, and we decided quite early on that it would be interesting if they were also obstetricians. And so as soon as you start to kind of think about, well, what are their day jobs like, who are the patients that they meet, what kind of people are they going to be working with, then you start doing the research, you start having the conversations, and you're consistently shocked that that you don't know more about this, and that it's not kind of seen on our screens or like told in our stories like all the time, because it's extraordinary, and each person's experience is so different. There were like a million, like so many characters that we could have met, and so I think we were just kind of following what excited us, what felt like it was going to be dramatic and funny and engaging for us. And then and there's a bit of like, well, I want to see that because I've never seen it. I feel like we kept following that, and then you look up at the end and you kind of go, oh, did we mean to do that? But yeah.
But I think that's what, I don't know, there's that kind of, not bravery in it sort of thing, but I guess there is that as well, and so much of it is kind of heightened as well by the fantastic production design and the costumes and all that. As we kind of go into the series as well, you'll see that's kind of, I'm not going to give anything away because I feel so lucky that I've been able to see it, the whole thing, which you're such a treat, by the way. But in terms of knowing where each episode would go tonally as well, because the tone is so, 1 minute you're laughing and then the next minute you're almost kind of heartbroken at something that's happened to a character on screen sort of thing. How did you navigate that in terms of episodically, what you want? Because every episode as well has got its own sort of tone as well and journey, really.
I mean, we really wanted that from the beginning. I think we knew we wanted it to begin in a really grounded place. We wanted that first episode to kind of really make the case for why we might, or these women might want to think of a radically different way to do this, and then by the end we're in a more heightened, more operatic place. And in order to kind of navigate that journey, you want to, I think, want to kind of feel that you can get there slowly. But also it was about kind of, we had an amazing writer's room, and every single collaborator really brought, they kept just adding to the conversation. They kept, we had, Sean Durkin obviously started us off, and he was where we finished with as well, but we worked with incredibly directors who all had a really strong vision and their own style. And I think we just really wanted to lean into that because that felt really exciting to us, and that therefore each episode could really have its own identity.
And am I right in thinking that the writer's room was all female?
It was, yeah. And Rachel was in the writer's room every day.
How was that?
It was one of the most joyful experiences I've ever had. Yeah, I loved it. We were all on Zoom during lockdown. You could see Rachel and Miriam there. And yeah, it was it 6 hours? 6 hours or 8 hours a day? It was a full day's talking. Yeah. And yeah, we all talked about, books that we liked or films, different references, personal stories, and then everyone just really used their imaginations and made story offers. And Alice was like the conductor who said, "Oh, that sounds interesting," and she took us that direction. And it was just, I felt like I got to know these 6 other women really kind of intimately, but just through their imaginations. It was just the loveliest. Felt so lucky to have been asked. I loved it.
When you originally had the idea, did you have an idea in your head as what you wanted it to be, what you wanted the end result to be?
When I first had the daydream, no. I mean, it literally began with a really simple idea of, I love that film. I love that dysfunctional, bizarre relationship between these twins. And Alice and I remarked on the fact that in the film, they're having such a good time. They've always got a martini glass in their hand and a woman on their arm. They're just having a blast until they're not, until the story, unravels into a very, desperately dark place. But so I think we knew that we wanted there to be like kind of joy and fun and in the tone. But I don't think, no. I mean, how could have I imagined this on my own? No.
Britne, how would you describe Genevieve, but also her kind of role?
I would say Genevieve is a very sort of warm, healthy, genuine, patient individual. And her role in the story, I think the aspects of her are a respite from the chaos, which is always nice and I think a nice, kind feeling. But she, I think, depending on your perspective as well, of, who you're rooting for in a way, she could be disrupting something that a lot of people are rooting for, which I think is very interesting to have that perspective as well.
Do you mean rooting for the twins to
Right,
stay
yeah,
together?
because I've always thought about that as the actor playing the actor in the show. There are people who could be rooting for the love story and Beverly and Genevieve and this whole wonderful, yummy romantic thing that we hope all works out, and then other people that think that she's the disruptor. So I was making sure to think about that as I was playing her because, everyone kind of make up their own mind about it.
That episode 2 at the house, the Parker's house with the dinner party, that is the most extraordinary collection of people and conversations. What was the kind of the root of the research and and that whole kind of process for that particular element to it? Because it's so fascinating. Whose house did you go to? That was the basis. Oh, you're looking at me like that actually happened.
No, I was about to say I wish. Do I wish I didn't? They're sort of fabulous. They're having such a lot of fun. I think we felt like we had lots of really interesting conversations in the writers' room about kind of philanthropy and about and who would be, this is Beverly's dream, like this is what she wants, and somebody is about to give her like the cash, but who's that coming from, and who is maybe the most kind of complicated person for that to come from, which Jennifer really brings that so wonderfully. And yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun coming up with those characters, and that kind of that I really love a dinner scene. This show's got like a lot of dinner scenes in it. It's kind of my favorite thing to write and spend time in, because it feels like, I don't know, everybody gathers there with such hope, and then it's and then you can disrupt it. But and we had Susan who was in the writers' room as well. She's a Succession writer as well. So I feel like it's got some some flavours of that time as well.
And the kids singing Coldplay as well is just...
That was such...
Oh my God. It's
Yeah, we
just-
didn't know if we were going to get the rights. We were really... That was we didn't have a backup. We thought that was... that was a good day.
But we met, when we were in the writers' room,
Yeah.
we met a lot of experts. So
Yeah.
obviously gynecologists, obstetricians, endocrinologists, all that medical world. But then we met kind of people you would call like neophyte scientists that for them it wasn't neophyte, for them it was just very serious, but the longevity experts who who's this professor said to us that death is a disease that will be cured within our children's lifetime for sure. So we met a lot of experts who were talking, were at the cutting edge of technology and science. And,
I was about to ask you what was the weirdest bit of research or information that you heard or found or discovered. That's clearly got to be close to it.
Yeah, that was...
it's quite a strange concept.
Yeah.
That death is a disease that you can cure.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I know, like
Mind.
yeah,
Totally.
Can you think of any others?
I mean, no, that was definitely the most kind of extreme. I swear there was an amazing... Was she an embryologist who we met?
Yeah.
She was wonderful, and at the end we sort of said, well, if someone was going to give you money, what would you want? And she was like bodies to, like people to experiment on, just give me
like
bodies,
a closet full of bodies,
which felt so Elliot,
yeah.
and delicious.
I mean, she knew it was a funny thing
Yeah.
to say. She wasn't
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
straight-faced about it, but she also completely meant it.
it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was a great moment.
Yeah.
That must have been amazing for you to experience those types of people, to get those kind of the parameters of both those characters then, in terms of I mean, Elliot feels like she's got no boundaries really in a way.
None.
But for you, was that just a glorious opportunity to have these two characters to play in one situation and the extremes of them both?
Yeah, I mean, completely glorious, and that they're codependent in this very dysfunctional, twisted way, and they're gloriously close, and there's a lot that is kind of, I think, quite gorgeous about their their lives together, but then it's obviously very problematic. Yeah.
Was part of the research as well with spending time with twins and speaking to, well, not spending time with them, but speaking to a lot of twins and identical twins particularly? Because it's a different, I've got twins in my family and there's a very different relationship between twins and identical twins from what I can see anyway. Did you find that, or?
We spoke to a couple very early on, but I don't know. Actually, I sort of felt like because we knew we wanted to turn the dial up on these twins so much that it's sort of it was more imaginative than as an exercise than finding.
Yeah, hopefully no one
Hopefully
like
they
this
don't
exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a few clues. We spoke to a few people, but it was an act of all the writers' imagination to go up to 11.
Did anyone go to 12 and you were like, we can't do that?
Genuinely, no.
Everything was up for
Everything's
grabs.
allowed, yeah.
That's such a luxury with something like this, because like I was saying about that idea of each episode has got its own sort of flavor and tone and journey as well, of knowing the kind of the three acts almost within each episode and looking at it like that, because it's so filmic, and seeing it on this big screen as well tonight was just slightly terrifying at moments, but also just absolutely glorious. Was that easy to work out kind of where the start and end point was for each episode, for the journey, for the story and the characters?
No, like really, really hard. I think, and Telly is such a propulsive beast. It's sort of like you really need to feed it plot and cliffhangers and pick and that was a real learning experience. I think that was just sort of through going through drafts and again just having really, really brilliant collaborators and just sort of trusting other people's imaginations and ideas as well.
Because there's such a free form with the actors in terms of the conversations that are there. They feel so organic and real and kind of freeing. But I imagine because of the nature of the two characters, did you have to really follow script, or was the opportunity there to kind of play a bit as well?
No, there's no improvisation. If it feels like it's because it's really great writing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary.
It was pretty much every word is
Yes, yeah.
is the writer's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think was helpful for
Yeah.
in this, because there was so much technicality on the day. It felt really comforting to be able to go back to the words and know that you knew the words and just fall back into that. Yeah, it was really helpful.
How much did you want to bring over, or kind of, bring through from both the book and the original film? Did you kind of have that conversation about, specific things that you wanted to make sure were part of your story, or that you wanted to avoid in any way, or did you not think about it in that way?
No, we did. I mean, particularly the film. I think we wanted it to be its own thing, definitely, for it to kind of go in a new direction, and for it to feel like there's a reason for it to happen now, and for it to be this new version. But then there are nods to the film. And
Easter eggs.
Easter eggs.
Yeah, Alice called them. Yeah. Little surprises.
Yeah, throughout. And I think particularly that relation, we named her Genevieve because she's played, like the character Claire was played by Genevieve Bourgeois in the film. And that relationship is so, the idea of these twins who have always just had each other, and it's just been the two of them, and it's so codependent. And then this person arrives who offers one of them something entirely different. This kind of like it's like kind of gives them this imagination to think completely differently. That felt so romantic and compelling and interesting, and for that person to be a patient, that felt very twisted and dramatic. So that was that. We absolutely kind of stole that.
Yeah.
But at various times, I think I certainly felt like I had to not look at the film and then go and look at it again, and then sort of forget it again. So.
And people talk a lot about Jeremy Irons' performance, as they should. It was incredible. But for me, being a fan of the film, it was also Genevieve Bourgeois' performance that really was like seared into my imagination and memory. I thought it was such a profoundly brilliant performance, because she's sort of, on the page, their victim, but the way in which she played it, she was so kind of aware of her situation and of her own dysfunction. And I just thought it was one of the great performances. So that's why Genevieve is called Genevieve.
Yeah, I mean, even from when we see Genevieve Claire in the film for the first time in the stirrups, that's our first introduction to her.
Yeah.
And even the tone of that kind of conversation as well, it's got that kind of like comedic response that she gives, sort of thing. And I just think the tone that you've got with this is great. What can you say to the audience about the rest of the journey they're about to go on? Anything you want to say specifically about it?
Definitely evolves tonally and gets more operatic, I would say. As Alice mentioned, it begins very grounded and in a recognizable world, in a recognizable hospital. But once well, I don't want to. It's a spoiler. It's all spoilers.
Yeah.
But it tonally becomes more operatic, more heightened, more near-fi, as we called it, sort of like sci-fi, but it's near-fi. And very. The volume might go to 12. Yeah, maybe.
Have you thought about what the response that you might get from audiences from it, in terms of, I said that this feels like something that I've never seen on TV before, but I feel like something that's so needed in terms of the conversations that it does encourage around, women's health issues, women's fertility, all that kind of thing. And I hope that you see the positive that I really hope that people get from that, in terms of it feeling like they can have a conversation about things that they might have shied away from prior to watching this. Have you thought about that kind of those conversations that people will have after watching it, the next day at work, or what you'd like them to have, the conversations you'd like them to have?
I mean, I find that so almost frightening to do that, because it's such a bit, a big thing to ask people to sit down and watch it and really engage with it and listen and feel all the feelings you hope they'll feel. What you just said sounds lovely and great. I mean, But yeah, I hope people feel entertained by it, and I hope people enjoy it, and it can enjoy the incredible acting and everybody else's amazing work. But yeah, of course, if it could start some of those conversations or give people words
which
about
you write brilliantly,
but can't speak, then that that's amazing. That's amazing. It would be incredible.
I don't think that was like our
intention,
mission. If those things happen, then that's it's up to the viewers. But it's not actually something we've ever talked about. So the reason we're pausing is because we've never discussed it till the second. So I don't know. Yeah.